Okay, so for step 4, you are going to create questions just like I did for step 3. So you're going to have to look at your categorical data. You're going to have to look at it, figure out what questions you want to ask. Um, you got to ask at least one ratio question and 2 predictions using your data. So that's exactly what I did in step 3. I asked you one ratio question. I asked you write the ratio of the number of people who like chocolate to the number of people who like Twix. So this is an example question. You need to ask a similar question, only obviously you have to change your words from chocolate to and Twix to whatever words match your data. So again, you come up with the question, type it on your page. Don't edit my page, okay? So make sure you click on your page. So I'm going to click on Krat Roy. All right, and then okay, while you are on your page, then you click the edit button. Okay, and then we can go ahead and type in our question. So write the ratio of chocolate to Twix. Okay, and so when people go to your page, they're going to see that question and they're going to have to use your results page to answer that question for you. But you can't just ask one question. So I'm going to hit save here and I'm going to go back to step 4. All right, and then it actually says that we need to ask a second question. You actually have to ask 2 predictions. So you have to ask 2 questions like question 2. So my example question here is, if you were to survey 240 people using the results from my data, how many people would you expect to prefer M&Ms as their favorite candy? So now when I did that, I actually, this number 240, that is a very specific number. The reason why I chose that number, okay, I'm going to go into step 3. I'm going to show you guys the Go Formative page that I created for you. All right, so see here, when you add up all of my surveys, there was 120 surveys. So the reason I chose 240 right here is because 120 times 2 is 240. So I was making sure that it was going to work out perfectly and there wasn't going to be any decimals or anything like that to deal with. Because, who wants to figure out 240.3 people? Well, what does point 0.3 people mean? So I chose the number 240 on purpose. Just like I also chose 600 on purpose because 120 times 5 is 600 people. And hopefully that's what you guys figured out when you were answering these questions. So we had to multiply by 5. So Swedish fish, when you came up here, Swedish fish was 12 times 5 is 60. Okay, and then if you did 240, well, that's times 2. So we find Reese's peanut butter cups. All right, that's 10 times 2. The answer is 20. Okay, so I want you guys to be very thoughtful in your questions that you're asking. So right here, I wrote 240. You shouldn't use the number 240. Let's say your survey had 30 responses. Well, you should use multiples of 30, so like 60 or 90, or you could even go half of 30. You could do 15. Okay, so you could make it smaller or bigger, but I want you to use multiples of your actual survey data so people can figure it out without having to worry about finding a half of a person. Okay, so you got to come up with 2 of those questions. Again, you click on your website. Okay, click on the edit button and then go ahead and type your questions. I like to leave a space here in between the questions. So if we if we surveyed 240 people, how many would prefer Twix? Okay, so again, it's very specific because 240 is 120 times 2. So that way when people figure that out, they can go look at the list, find Twix, and double it, and that would be their answer. Now again, remember, you have to create 2 of those. So now I'm going to choose another one. If we surveyed, now this time, okay, so my original survey was 120 people. I'm going to drop it down to 60. 60 people. How many would prefer? Now, at this case, you're going to want to go through, since you're going to have to divide by 2, I want to find an even number. So Skittles is an even number of 20. So I'm going to go ahead and use Skittles. Okay. So you don't want to have people deal with a half of a person. Okay, so you want to be very careful in your selection. So here I went down to, my original survey was 120, so I divided it by 2 and made it 60. But because you have to divide by 2, I went to my form page and found that I tried to find an even number. So Skittles had an even number, so there we go. Now I'm going to hit save. And now we have our questions. So someone goes to your page and they can see your survey results and they can see your 3 questions. So they can go to your page and ask you those questions. Now you need to be prepared with the answer keys to those 3 questions, but you're not going to want to put them on your website. You're going to want to have them on a piece of paper somewhere, so that way when people try to do your problems, your questions, they can come to you and ask, hey, did I do it right? And you can go ahead and let them know whether they got it right or wrong. Okay, so that is your step 4 for this extension.